Okay, guys, I've got to cover this lunacy because it's both funny and completely mad, but I expect it won't be surprising to many of you. Some of you might remember last summer in Bristol, we had the mostly peaceful protesters destroying statues fully supported by the council and this cock-old copper you see here.
We know that it has been a historical figure that has caused the black community quite a lot of angst over the last couple of years. So whilst I am disappointed that people would damage one of our statues, I do understand why it's happened. It's very symbolic. You might wonder why we didn't intervene and why we just allowed people to put it in the docks. We made a very tactical decision that to stop people from doing that act may have caused further disorder, and we decided the safest piece to do in terms of our policing tactics was to allow it to take place.
Should you have stopped this happening? Should you have protected the statue?
So our policing style was from the outset low-key. We were not able to get to the statue in time to protect it. And once it had actually been toppled, there was clearly a pre-planned attempt to bring that down. They had grappling ropes and they had the right tools. So once it was down, we made a decision. The right thing to do was just allow it to happen, because what we did not want is tension.
Some people will say that maybe that was the wrong strategy, that you should have intervened and challenged this behaviour.
So I understand why people might think that we should have intervened and challenged, but this was a very difficult policing operation. There's a lot of context that sits around it, and I believe we did the right thing.
No regrets?
No regrets.
Well, after his tactical decision to let people break the law, the council have now decided it's time to go one better, and enter levels of woke no tosspot council in the UK has ever gone to before. Shit, it's like the Star Trek of wokeness exploring new levels of stupidity and critical race theory, because it appears they have approved some motion relating to repatriations, which is demented on so many levels, but the main one being no one alive today had involvement in the slave trade, and no one alive today suffered because of it. So the obvious question is, who is paying for this damage that was done hundreds of years ago, and who is being paid for suffering all this damage once again hundreds of years ago? Obviously proving this is just levels of stupid that would boggle the mind, but if they really want to go down that route, the people they should be claiming the money from is the people in Africa who sold their own people into slavery. I mean shit, in parts of Africa, the Middle East and Asia, slavery is still a real thing. You never hear these idiots talk about that though, do you? Now obviously, this being a Labour-run council, they have decided in their wisdom to create and implement some community wealth creation strategies, while also demanding that the government establish a commission to determine how repatriations can be delivered, which I hope is laughed at by whoever they send the letter to. Because what the actual fuck are they actually thinking with this shit? Even this piss-weak government won't go down that route because public backlash will be massive, and of course it's just stupid. Now, Breitbart have picked up on this, so let's check out the lunacy that they have decided to cover. It says slavery repatriations approved by virtue signalling Bristol City Council. Why doesn't it surprise me? The City Council of Bristol has approved a motion calling for repatriations for slavery as an act of atonement for the British port city's role in the slave trade. Well, what about the repatriations for the people who were dragged off the beaches in that same area by the Barbary pirates, something that you will never hear this Labour-run council talk about? It says the Labour-run council passed the motion by a margin of 47 votes to 12 on Tuesday, following a Zoom meeting of the councillors. The council agreed to implement community wealth creation strategies and to write to the British Parliament demanding the establishment of a commission to determine how repatriations may be delivered. Because obviously they've literally gone fully woke on this one, now I actually hope that the government kind of holds back some funding. You know, get woke, go broke. That's what needs to happen with them. Obviously it's a bit harder with a council, though it is a Labour-run one, they can easily spend a shitload of money. It goes on, in a statement the Bristol City Council said that racial injustice today is a byproduct of economic injustice or domination of the global economy established in the 17th century, and therefore efforts need to be made to expedite the atonement process and work needs to be done to achieve holistic repatriations. Because obviously these idiots have 100% brought into the critical race theory. Last year proved that beyond any doubt, even the old Bill down there are at it as well. The left-wing council went on to say that repatriative justice should be driven by African heritage communities' experiences, voices and perspectives to ensure that advocacy messages not only reflect but also respond to the real needs of the community in order to recognise inequalities. Which obviously makes no sense to me because the people who have experienced this, the voices and the perspectives that actually matter are all since long dead, along with the people who actually did it to them. This is a completely unworkable load of bollocks and literally is, as the title says, just a bunch of virtue signalling. There's no way to do this, the government will never allow it, and the people will be in uproar. 99% of people from all races will just think that this is batshit crazy. It goes on down here. In response to the repatriation's push, Robert Pole of the Save Our Statues campaign told Breitbart London, "This is straight from the critical race theory playbook, perpetuating a simplistic and divisive victim-aggressor narrative. It is a misrepresentation both of history and of the people of Bristol. Nobody today is guilty, nobody today is a victim, something which I've already said, and is kind of fucking obvious, let's be honest." A senior fellow at the policy exchange think tank Calvin Robinson added that Bristol has become the first city in the UK to go entirely woke, and I would 100% agree with him on that. There's a clear misunderstanding amongst Bristol politicians. People are struggling because a whole host of socio-economic issues. An attempt to put the blame on race is narrow-minded and short-sighted, kind of fucking obvious. They'd do far better to look at the class disparity in the city, Robinson told Breitbart London. The idea of repatriations in the 21st century to somehow make up for atrocities of the 16th-17th century is beyond ridiculous. Whose money are they suggesting we use to pay repatriation? And who are they suggesting repatriations are paid to, he questioned. Which is obviously something I'd said at the very start of this video, and should be kind of obvious to 99% of people. Of course, the Labour Council and woke tosspots that push this shit are literally in the 1%, maybe even less than that. Now personally, like I said, I find this quite ridiculous and actually quite funny. The funny thing about it is that they're gonna demand Parliament does this and that. When, let's be honest, Parliament ain't gonna be listening to shit, especially not when it comes to them paying out money to someone that's not lobbied them directly. This is none of their friends we are talking about here. This is a low-life bunch of tosspot councillors in Bristol that no one gives a toss about. So why they've passed this motion, it ain't actually gonna get anywhere, unless they start spending their own council funds on it. Which obviously means the people of Bristol should stand up and tell them to go fuck themselves. Remember, local elections are coming up, so there is a chance to do that.
We're off!